This is GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly podcast about gaming, technology, and play. Your hosts are Michael Martine, Andy Piper, and Michael Rowe. The thoughts and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone and are not the opinions of any organization which they have been, are, or may be affiliated with.
This is episode 562, Field Notes. Hello, welcome back to GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly technology podcast. I am Andy Piper. I remain Andy Piper. I continue to be Andy Piper. And I am back from a field where I was last week. So there was no show last week because apparently we were all busy. I was busy in a field and the Michaels were busy with other things. With me this week is my friend Michael Martine. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I was busy in sand. I did beach yoga for 7 days in a row. So that was, amongst other things, that was really good.
That sounds very nice as well. Good.
Yeah. So fields and beaches and stuff like that.
Michael Rowe can't join us this time around. We miss you, Michael, but we will be back together at some stage before too long.
Andy, tell us about your experiences last week in this field.
I thought you would never ask. So I was at the Electromagnetic Field Festival last week, which happens every 2 years here in the UK. It's similar to the Chaos camps or the hacker camps in Germany and in the Netherlands. I don't really think there is an equivalent thing in the US, and let me explain what I mean by that, because we had a bunch of friends from the US come over, Deborah Ansell or Geek Mum Projects. We had a bunch of other folks that makers came across and have been part of our chat groups. And one of the reasons why I don't think something like this can happen or does happen in the US is because it is completely volunteer run. It is run at cost. There is no commercial entity behind this. It is entirely a community organization. And whilst I love our friends in the US, and particularly the maker and tech communities, I think that my experiences at a lot of these kinds of festivals are very much commercial enterprises. And this is a village, really, of people in a field who go camping together. There is a program of installations, of talks, of entertainment. People go along. It's got high-speed internet. It's got fiber to the field. It's got Wi-Fi throughout the field. It's got a telephone network. It's got its own telephone network because the cell coverage is not fantastic in the field, ironically, considering everything else. So there is a plain old copper telephone type service. There is a decked service, so you can take along a decked handset and register it to the field and be contactable on a 4 or 5 digit number. There is a GSM network that they run as well, a 2G, 3G network. There's programmable phones, so you can run your own phone lines and have your own kind of games or information lines or other things. There's a night market. My wife and I took part this time last week as we record this on a Friday. We were both in a night market with a bunch of other makers, talking to people, showing off our pen plots, showing off our designs. There is a lot of laser lights and burning things, flames and things. So there's a little bit of a Burning Man element to it, I suppose. But it's, again, I would say that my understanding of those festivals is that they may have started in a similar place from a community perspective, but they may have drifted away from that ideal. And Electromagnetic Field, rather wonderfully, really has stayed true to its roots, and a very special place.
Wow, and you said it happens every 2 years.
Every 2 years, right? And the Chaos camps happen every 4 years. The Dutch camps happen every 2 years in the alternating years. And it's a lot of work for the volunteers. There's a ton of tracks. There's a films track. There's a kids entertainment track. There's all the content that gets submitted. and it's really diverse content. Everything from, my wife gave a talk about combining historical GIS, geographic data, with genealogy records to build up insights into 19th century communities, for example. But there was also talks about sewage disposal. There was talks about drones. There were talks about healthcare for different people across the spectrum. There was one on helping a partner through menopause. All these kinds of things. So really diverse range of things, as well as having a camp digital badge, a hacker badge that people could play with if they were into that. One of the cool things about it is the installations, and so you can walk around the camp. I'm talking about 4,000 or 5,000 people, or 3,000 or 4,000 people.
Wow,
the Germany camp is usually about 10,000 people, but this one is about 3,000 or 4,000 people, mixture of live-in vehicles and camping tents and other arrangements. But you walk around and there are these incredible installations, and this year's camp was themed around space. So you had a lot of kind of space and gaming related content that you could engage with. There were a lot of ducks as well. The field is famous for its ducks and its spiders. So people have taken them to heart and come up with installations that include, tap your phone to an NFC tag on a rubber duck and find all the ducks in a field, or these kinds of games, scavenger hunt type things. But a couple of things I really wanted to call out. There is an arcade every year, which is typically entirely home brew games. And this year was no exception. There's some really fun, interesting games in there. But in the bar, which is a big top tent, again, all run by volunteers. So everybody volunteers to run shifts and serve other people that are part to make the event. There was a fantastic mechanical game. The one 2 years ago, there was a mechanical Flappy Bird. This time there was a mechanical rotary Pac-Man game, which was quite incredible to watch. And I've got a video for that we'll put in the show notes that's on MakerTube.
Oh, good.
There was also a giant Game Boy in the middle of the field. Very difficult to take video of it because of the refresh rates. It had a big set of LCD displays LED displays that were combined together. And they obviously ran at different refresh rates, and it was just difficult to get the phone to expose things properly. But it was this giant Game Boy that seemed to kind of emerge from the ground. And then in front of it, there was a stand with these clay hands that were holding a game controller that kind of emerged from the ground as well. So you could walk up to this pair of hands that were holding the controller. You could take the controller out of the hands. It was just a stand. And then you could play classic Tetris, the original Game Boy Tetris with the classic theme tune.
With a
blasting
sound,
out across the field. Or
I'm sure annoying nobody.
Oh, absolutely. And other games as well were on there. People use the camp badge to make a load of games as well. I converted an Atari 2600 version of Pigs in Space game from the 1980s to run on MicroPython on this little badge, which some of the kids that were there loved. I was really pleased. They'd never seen Pigs in Space. They knew what the Muppets were, but they found this Pigs in Space game, and it was just this little kind of Space Invaders type game they could play on there, and they loved it. They told me that. Other people, because the badge has got proximity sensing, you could do jousting with it, and that kind of fun idea. Just so many activities, and I'm not going to stop talking about it for a while because there's a lot to absorb and come down from the experience. But that's why it's every 2 years. We need to build ourselves back up to it.
Wow. What were the eating and meal sort of situation? Did everyone bring their own?
Yeah, I mean, you could
like multiple campfires, were a central place to go at like the bar, the big tent?
Yeah, so absolutely good question. You can make your own arrangements. So we hired a camper van to live in, also because it insulates us from the sound of the gigantic bass pumping from the nightclub at midnight at the bottom of the field. So we did some of our own meals. They do also have 4 or 5 vendors that they know that are not sort of there to gouge people. So there was a range of decent options. Some vendors I've met from previous years. They don't seek out new vendors. They rather work with the ones that they know are part of the same community. So there were options. And then, as I say, there was a bar with, in fact, several bars, and there was a website where you could get all of the metrics of like what beers were on, how much was left. And it wasn't just alcoholic drinks. There was Club Mate, which is a well-known European kind of caffeinated beverage. There were a bunch of other options, and then often villages or groups of people from different regions, so Scotland, Ireland, Brighton, wherever they were from, would have their own events where they would do local food and drink tasting. So, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm so glad that you had a chance to go. That was sounding like just a fantastic experience and a great time to be among like-minded people who are all there to learn and experience technology. And the badge situation provides such a wonderful hacking opportunity for people to show their wares on their badge.
Yeah,
right?
And a couple more things. I don't want to spend the whole episode just waxing lyrical about it. The badge, a couple of years ago, they decided that they were done with producing a new electronic badge every 2 years, having people take it away and then put it in a drawer. So they produced this one, which is more of a sandwich of boards that fit together and that they can replace parts of over time. So this year, it's the same shape. There's a new front board, and this year they added touch sensors and different light designs to that front board, and they themed it to space, whereas previously it was themed to solar punk and it didn't have the touch sensors. And what that means is because it runs the same code over time, it's all MicroPython. The ecosystem of people have built up around that, and they've also got a defined hardware interface for plugging in these expansion boards. So there was a couple of day markets where people could go in and exchange these little hexagonal plug-in boards that would add features to the board, to the badge. We didn't, as a community, we'd built out this software ecosystem around it, and I got very excited about it because I said, fundamentally, it's all open source. It's all open hardware. It's not waiting on Google or Apple or Microsoft or anyone else to say what you can and can't run on this badge. There are limitations because it has got limited memory and it's a MicroPython device running on a ESP32, but we can decide what we do with it, what we want to do with it, what's cool, what's not cool. And you don't even need to be a techie necessarily to build for it. People can 3D print expansions that plug in that are just decorative, or in some cases I printed some that contained NFC tags that had people's matrix IDs in, so that you could tap your phone and get access to immediately find my matrix ID, which is a lower barrier to entry than me designing a circuit, having it created at a PCB fabricator. So a lot of fun. So that was one thing. The other thing I was going to say is I ran a meetup for an organization called, I think I may have mentioned it on the show a couple of weeks ago, called the Society for Hopeful Technologists, which has just been created as a cooperative here in the UK. And I created a phone line so you could phone the phone number HOPE, HOPE, from one of the camp phones to get a recorded message telling you to join the mailing list, and you could come along to the meetup. And we talked about a lot of these topics. Technology can be an enabler. Technology can be freeing. Technology can be a tool. Technology can bring us together. Technology can give us hope, and does not have to be enclosed by commercial forces that want to direct how we use it, restrict how we use it, charge us to use it, and so on. So we had a really nice meetup. I had about 30 people show up to that little meetup. And hopefully they will stay in touch with the society over the coming year. So, yeah.
Oh, how much fun. I really love this. So we've got a few links and a few things that we'd curated for today's show in our pre-production meeting. And first amongst them is a Mastodon post that pointed us to a gamified UK article about life.
Just to be clear,
this is not the game of life.
Right. The Gamified UK is the website, gamified.uk, because
yes,
the UK as a whole is not gamified yet.
It says you, right?
Yeah. But it is really talking about the way that you can look at the dimensions of life and use them as stats, right? And I think it's a rather lovely article to talk about, experience, money, health, and progress, and those parts of your life giving you a different experience of the journey. I saw a lovely T-shirt this weekend, and I've forgotten the exact wording, but it was all about, it was a D&D kind of a concept, where it said something like, I didn't roll high enough for stamina or something, so I passed out or something. I can't remember but it was something along those lines. I got it. I've butchered it completely. But it's a lovely article, this one.
Well, I thought it was fun to just consider it not the game of life, but life as a game, and with those various dimensions. And it certainly goes into the point that salary and leveling up on skill is not necessarily the winning conditions of said game. I also thought it was kind of fun to look at the image that was given along with it, which does look an awful lot like a ChatGPT kind of delivered poster of
100%, completely, definitely AI generated image at the top, which makes me a bit sad, but it kind of illustrates the point, right? That you're on a path. There's a bunch of stopping off points, moving home, relationships, job interviews, and so on, and then you've got your stats. Not awful.
Yeah. So going from something as rich and as varied as that, we now have a Playdate game, which you'd said you haven't yet tried on your Playdate.
Have you tried it?
And I don't have a Playdate, actually.
I always get it wrong. You've got the Switch. You don't have the Playdate.
I have the Switch, yeah. I wanted to get a Playdate, just didn't, haven't yet.
We record almost every week, and I always get which gadgets you've got wrong.
Yeah, well, I have so few, Andy, in the end. So, anywho, this is from a company called PointlessQuest, which just is a delightful name to begin with. And the visuals and the images, and I haven't read enough about, where to use the crank on the Playdate to, do things. But I'm sure there's elements here about how you get various tools and weapons to be able to unlock things and buy things and do much more with it. Are you intrigued enough to get and download this for your Playdate?
Yeah, it looks fun. I like the smallness of it. I think that I've said this many times. I find joy in small places and in small things and in niche things. That's probably why I've been finding so much fun in this badge, which is an entirely impractical device. But it's just a small thing that I can understand and I can grasp. And I think this game looks quite fun. I like the story here that people got sad about the fact that it was so small that they completed it so fast, so they had to come out with an expansion. I also like the fact that it's got it takes advantage of the network capabilities in the Playdate, which is, I think, been something that's been underutilized so far. So I do wonder about the fact that it's not on the shop yet, on the catalog, because it's just for various reasons. I think it's partly because he's got Claude and a few other things going on here to generate it. But I will have to have a dig at it.
Yeah, the language in the article here about all the game content is 100% made by hand, but the code base has been extensively modernized and leveraged Claude to create it, which is kind of a little bit like what I've been doing recently too. I've been also using Claude, and I've been creating an iOS app where all of the content is from me, although the implementation and the strategy is not.
You have to be careful about competing with our co-host as an iOS developer, though.
I know. That's why I'm saying it now before he reacts to that.
Proper developer will come along and tell you off.
Yeah. I'm sure. Luckily, my agents.md and my skills.markdown files are, in the right spot. Your data is your data, right? That's an important thing. All right. So moving on to, we have not had a Lego segment in a little while, and there are like all kinds of good fun stuff. And this first one is one that you brought along with you to the field, as I understand, because it's space related, isn't it?
Yes. So a couple of space related things and duck related things I took with me. So there's a Lego duck family that I took along to the field because ducks, and as I discussed earlier. There's also
not spiders, though.
No, there's also the Lego orrery, which I got just after my birthday, and somebody's made I haven't assembled it yet. I didn't have time before EMF, but somebody's made a motor. No, there's lighting kits as well. But somebody's made a motor which lets it actually rotate and be aligned to the actual state of the universe. So I bought the driver board for that motor kit, and I haven't built it out yet. But the one that I did get that just came out before EMF was the Space Arcade Pinball set that came out this month.
Yes, hello.
Quite a fun build, and it's playable. But I will say that it's a bit challenging to play. You've got to have everything at exactly the right angle, I would say. And I think some of the other reviews have said that the dynamics of it don't quite work. There are light kits for it already. And it's absolutely crying out for that. But what I think it's really crying out for as well is some kind of interactivity around blinky, bingy noises and things like that. And so that's something I might do in the future. But we had it on a table in our village so that when kids came by, they could have a little play with it. Remarkably, it only had a few parts broken off it in the interaction with children at the camp. But in the same vein, and we knew this was some of us knew this was coming. This kind of autumn sets, or the full kind of drop of sets, has just been announced, and one of those is the Donkey Kong playable arcade machine to go alongside, I guess, the Pac-Man one that came out a couple of years ago, which is in a box about 3 feet away from me right now. I've never built it. It's sitting over there,
but it's looking nice.
It's really looking really great, along with the NES, which also hasn't been built. It's sitting in its box, so I really need to get on that at some point. And then the one that we had a fun talk about before we kicked off here was the Star Trek one, because of course it's the Star Trek 60th anniversary this year, and
amazing.
Lego now has a deal with the license. They came out with the Enterprise D set just before Christmas time, and this year's big Star Trek set is the classic Enterprise NCC 1701 bridge. What were you thinking? You had a few things you thought about this one.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, did you notice how many pieces are in this kit?
Oh, no, I hadn't. 1,701 pieces. Of course there are. Of course there are.
Of course there are. Yeah. My sister and I used to play Star Trek growing up, and she was always Lieutenant Uhura, and I was Captain Kirk, and we used clothespins on our shirts to be the communicator badges and the like. And this is one of the things that just makes me happy, and I love Lieutenant Uhura's hair in this. It is so perfect. I mean, you could see that in like a B-52's band recreation too, that sort of setup.
I want to say they've done a special hair piece for Chekhov as well.
Yes,
I think Uhura and Chekhov probably have unique pieces there.
Although Spock, could be, one of the Rivendell characters was reused here, perhaps, right?
It could be. The minifigs are great. The design is lovely. It brings me back to thinking about, again, some of the kids at EMF, because one of them dressed up as a Star Trek science officer, which I really loved.
How cool!
Which was really cute.
So let's move. Yeah. Let's move, because we're going to run out of time here if we're not careful, into Alexis had dropped us a line, a friend of the show here for quite a while.
Yeah.
And there's this really cool Instagram post that he mentioned about how an artist had used a MetaQuest to create a mural. It's basically, to project on a wall through VR a design that could then be painted in real life. And I'm not doing it justice, but you should take a look at the Instagram and you'll see right away what it is that I mean.
Very cool. Very neat.
I could almost do art like this if I could. I actually used to do this with transparencies and overhead projectors once upon a time. So cool, fun stuff. Now, you talked a little bit about Pac-Man earlier because that's just sitting on the floor staring at you. And this next post here from Brian Krebs has an example of Pac-Man, but that's not really the story now, is it?
Right. So there's been a story. We'll have to hit on this really quickly, but over the last few months, it's emerged that there's an organization called Bright Data. I'm sure there are others who have an SDK that gets embedded in a lot of mobile apps or apps generally, particularly in this case, smart TV apps, to enable the company to do some data aggregation and so on. And the idea here is that to your point, there's an example of a Pac-Man game for an LG smart TV that shows up. And for an ad-free experience, you should opt in to let Bright Data use your device's free resources and IP address to download public web data from the internet. None of your personal information is harvested. This is essentially creating domestic proxies out of your smart devices. So the idea being, you buy a smart device, it's smart by default. You can't opt out of it. You've got all the apps. The apps contain this spyware, this malware, this stuff that is enabling remote control from third parties. And the allegation is that Bright Data in particular has been one of the organizations that has given access to this network of domestic proxies to enable AI companies to do their data scraping and gathering. Brian Krebs has talked about this. It's been written about elsewhere as well. I heard about this a few months ago when the research came out that proved that this was happening, and I set up blocks on my home network to the control servers, the Bright Data servers. And now they're saying that LG are going to ban this from going on their TVs, any of these apps containing these SDKs, because I'm sure not all of them have been disclosing it to the users. Now, as it happens, I don't want to play Pac-Man on my TV. If I want to play Pac-Man, then I'd play it on a dedicated gaming device. But I find this really frustrating. It's a sign of this economy driven by data scraping and personal data privacy breaches. And I find it really troubling that you can be purchasing these devices, running these apps, and having them expose your domestic IP and your everything about your home to these kind of practices. So glad to see this. That was as quickly as I could do it in a minute and a half. The one other thing we'll hit on while we're here, which is in our kind of security, privacy, state of the internet is not great piece, is that Sony have had another round of deleting content, movies from people's catalogs, people having purchased catalogs on the PlayStation or whatever, a Sony device, and then finding actually they only had a temporary license. They didn't actually have the content at all, and that was revoked now because Sony's deal with the owner of the license had gone away as well. I mention it partly because I'm going to see a Sony movie on Wednesday. I'm going to see the new Spider-Man, which I'm really excited about on Wednesday night. So, but I will be seeing it in the theater and not on a smart device.
Yeah, so you're renting that theater experience, and you know that going in.
Yeah, it's an experience, exactly. I'm there for the experience. I'm not going to take it out with me. I'll take it out in my head as an experience rather than as content that I can rewatch. And if I want to watch it again, then I may eventually try and acquire a hard copy, but I don't know. Doubtful.
Well, I'm grateful for the fact of having physical books too, because I just finished the new one from Ian Bogost we talked about and really enjoyed it, wrote in it all over the place. I'm planning on sharing it with a couple of friends, which then creates that sort of social network in physical form, because what I've done with page points and what I've written in the book becomes an opportunity for conversation on the pages if other people happen to write there too. Right. So it's kind of fun.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're done.
I think so. So do drop by the blog, check out the show notes, check out the links, check out all the stuff that we put in there that you may not have had a chance to click through and read with your own eyes. And apart from that, we will see you next week. See ya.
You've been listening to GamesAtWork.biz, the podcast about gaming technology and play. We are part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network, and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song, Big Blue. You can follow us at our website at GamesAtWork.biz.